Most people think they're running their orgs. Truth is, their calendar is running them. Their weeks aren't shaped by any strategy, but instead are led by things like random fires to put out, other people's priorities. Whenever their calendar Slack pings, they have no real deliberate intention in shaping their time. It doesn't have to be this way. You don't have to be a slave to your calendar. You can turn it around and make your calendar serve you like it was always supposed to be. In this video, we'll teach you how to start steering the ship instead of letting whatever is happening guide your path. You will take control of your time and you will have what I call the CTO agenda to ensure that your time is used properly. By the way, if you're new here, hi, I'm Aviv Ben-Yosef. I'm a tech executive coach and consultant, and I help people just like you create teams worth leading, because life's too short to lead mediocre teams. And sure path towards mediocrity is not knowing how to use your time well. If you cannot do that, how can you expect to actually lead people to anything other than mediocrity? And now let's talk about something that I see all over the place, and that's a lot of tech executives, either knowingly or not, are stuck in a loop where they're constantly reacting. You're never taking charge of your time. So if you look at your day, you look at the weeks you're spending, you're essentially running like a pinball from one meeting to the next, from one fire to the next, never actually deciding how you want to be spending your time, and end up wasting it running between all of those things. Whenever you have to cross the hall, you're essentially hailed by 10 different people, each one having something that they need you to do, each one adding another thing on your plate. I know executives who are now afraid of going out of their room because they know, oh my God, I'm gonna get all of those requests. Nowadays, Slack is doing that for you. So you don't even have the safety of remaining in your office. And that means that you have to learn how to use your time better if you want to have any hope of being an effective leader and not drowning in the day-to-day. If you want to be a leader, start leading with your time. Again, that's the only resource all of us humans have in common. No one has more or less of it. We all have those 24 hours a day that we have to learn how to use well. Let's start with realizing that if you don't decide how to use your your calendar will decide it for you. It will be like your calendar being that amazing tool that allows anyone to grab a chunk of your time just because they sent an email with an invite in it, and boom, there it goes that afternoon. Boom, you no longer have those 20 minutes. What you have to start with is flipping it around. Realize that you need to have the CTO, whatever title you want, agenda. You have to take control of your time by deciding how your time needs to look. So we start by this flipping of the mindset and realizing that you have to start by envisioning where your time ought to go. When was the last time that you actually sat down and thought, I wonder how I should be spending my time? What is even the ideal allocation of time in an ideal week? Will you ever live an ideal week? Heck no, of course not. But if you have that plan, if you know what you're aiming towards, first of all, it will make it a lot easier to start aiming towards there naturally because you now have something in your mind. But also, it means that it will be a lot easier to start looking at the difference. Here's what I want to do. Here's what I'm actually doing. What's taking up the time? What are the issues here? If you never take the time to deliberately design your week, you won't notice it. Or you'll just notice that you're tired. You'll notice that you keep repeating the word overwhelmed, but you won't actually be doing anything proactively. So start by designing your ideal week, or if it's easier for you, find a different cadence. I find it easiest to start with a week or two as a template of what an ideal rhythm there should look like. And we start putting in the things that are most important. But even before that, we start with the general allocation of time. So first of all, think about you yourself. Which areas of the day do you want to keep for yourself? Which are areas where you want to be available? Do you do better work in the morning, in the afternoon, whatever works for you? Try to make sure that you keep the time that's precious for you to yourself. That's fine. No one's going to get too angry. I'm not saying that you're going to be a hermit and never going to go out of your room, have your entire calendar booked, whatever. You're a leader. You have to be working with people. There's no way around it. And yet, it's perfectly fine to start setting the calendar around what actually works for you. Make it serve you. So start by thinking, how should your time allocation look like? In my book, The Tech Executive Operating System, I have a general recommendation of where your time should go, like chunks of time that should go into coaching people, into putting out fires, because that's always going to happen, into interviewing, onboarding, into talking to your peers, in personal projects you're working on, and a bunch of different things. And this is like, I give you a rule of thumb where you need to be aiming, but you have to tailor it to yourself. Once you start with that, think for a second where you want to go. How should my week look like? Have that. Now, equipped with this, open your calendar, look at the past couple of weeks and see where's your time going. Like, understand how big of an issue do you have here, because that will help you understand how dire the situation is and how much of urgency do you have here. Because if you realize that it has nothing to do, the way you're spending your time right now, with how you'd ideally like to do that, it means you need to be spending a lot of time on this. You have to prioritize this a lot, and maybe you need some external help in order to get there faster. Either way, armed with this new plan of how you want to spend your time, then start breaking it down into how often you need to be doing things. I know that I'm allocating, for example, 2-3 hours a week to work on myself, on personal things, but how will I use those? For example, there are the things that you will be doing weekly, like one-on-ones with your people, like sitting and having leadership blocks, time for yourself to think about what you're going to be doing. I have a video about leadership blocks if you want to double click on that. But the point is, you're actually taking the time to think about what you want to do. Take time regularly to learn about what's happening outside of your organization, what are products seeing, what's marketing and sales working on, so you can learn from them, so you can stay in the loop and not be that executive that's not really an executive, that's just sitting in the room and not understanding what others are saying. No, you need to be a viable part of the executive team, so you need to regularly catch up on what's happening outside of the organization, realize what's happening and what's troubling others in the exec team, and you have to make the time for that. Otherwise, you'll only find out when things are on fire and falling in your lap. Also, another trick that I really recommend is having office hours, as opposed to letting people just take up any bit of your time on your calendar whenever they want, or not having any designated platform to make requests, which means you're going to get bogged down with Slack all the time. Instead, I recommend having this notion of office hours, as recommended by Cal Newport in like probably 3 of his books. You want to ensure that people know that unless something's on fire, there's a mechanism of when I can reach out to you. It's not just whenever I want to, and it's not never, but you have those hour to once or twice a day where people can come to you. Now, if something's on fire, of course, they're going to find you and they're going to let you know prior. They're not going to be waiting when there is a huge outage for a couple more hours to let you know. But it does mean that a lot of the things that bog you down day to day will wait. It means that people will find a different solution in the meantime because they won't want to wait, which is also good. And it means that when people come to you, for you, it's going to have less of an impact on your time, because I'm not saying you're a precious snowflake. I'm not saying that your time is more valuable than any other engineers, but I am saying that creating a deliberate organization that really learns how to use its time starts with you. If you start demanding how time is treated in the organization and you start protecting your time, you will be role modeling and giving permission to others in the organization to do the same. And this will have amazing benefits on the organization as time goes on. So start with that. This is the basic weekly stuff. I know that I'm going to have my one-on-ones, my leadership blocks, office hours, whatever. Start with those. Put those on the calendar, because once you do that, it's going to be a lot less easy for others to just grab your time, because you're going to have those things, you're giving them priority. And now if someone wants that chunk of time, they're going to see that you're not available, and they're going to have to ask, hey, can I have something here or there? And you can say, no, I'm already taken. I'm already doing something at that time. Maybe you can, but then you'll hopefully try to move it to a different part of the day, so you still do those things you committed to personally to yourself about. And that is the first step, having that weekly cadence of the CTO agenda that you actually sat down and designed to ensure that you're doing the things that you ought to be doing regularly. Then you have to start thinking about the longer term things. You cannot do everything every single week. It doesn't make a lot of sense. But being a deliberate executive means that there are a few things that you have to be doing regularly, every 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, whatever, quarterly-ish. And I really recommend choosing those, putting them on your calendar as a recurring event, perhaps as part of your weekly template. Have that hour or two every week or two. It's just recurring, and that's the slot. And every time you have a different thing, go into that. So for example, you can have the process review. Let's think about how things have been working in the organization for the past couple of months and see if maybe it's time to change things up. Maybe you notice that some of the meetings no longer make sense. Maybe some people have started zoning out, whatever. This is the time that you sit down, think, what do I need to change, and come up with ideas. Another example of something you can put there is having your own personal goals, your own personal coaching goals. You decide what you want to be improving in. If you're working with a coach like myself, or if you're doing it by yourself, decide what you want to improve at, decide how you're going to be measured, what are your baby steps, what are your commitments to yourself. So if you want to learn something new, assign time for it on your calendar. If you want to, speak better in front of others, try to find call for papers and send some speaking call proposals, so you can actually have people see you. You can actually practice it and not just tell yourself you're going to be working on it. Now, once you have those, you can also think about coaching your people. Every 2 or 3 months, think about how much progress each one of your direct reports is making. What sort of really thoughtful feedback can you give them to help them move forward? Think about your organization. What changes do you expect? Realizing what's happening right now. The last time you sat and did this was probably 3 months ago. What has changed? What do I envision happening in the future? Do I sense that maybe we'll need another manager, so maybe I need to start thinking about that? Do I sense that maybe the team will grow and we have to split one of the teams? Maybe one of the teams is not working well. Maybe I notice that one product probably might be wrapped up soon, whatever. Think about these things, so you can't always be a step ahead, but at least you're not going to be constantly surprised. At least have some time to think about things. That's another example. And another is a bunch of different retros that I think you can do personally and you can do at the organizational level. Think about how coaching is working for everyone. Sit with the managers and see what they're saying. Have impact retrospectives, which again, I have a different video about it, or at least an article linked somewhere here on screen, so you can drill down into those and see how you're doing those types of impact retros and learn how to make the organization even better. Another example is having intermissions. Have those on your calendar, organizational calendar, so you have regular habitual innovation going on. Again, another video. And if you're interested in intermissions, you can grab the free sample chapter of my book, The Tech Executive Operating System, that speaks exactly about this, about innovation in startups and in tech organizations. Again, a free chapter, you can just get it from the website. All of those things need to have space allocated to them ahead of time. And it doesn't happen weekly, it doesn't happen monthly, but at least find the cadence that works for you and commit to it on the calendar, especially if these are things that involve other people. Once you have the recurring event, I hope that it's going to help keep you on track. Like, it's not as easy to just ignore an invite when it's just, when it's with other people, as opposed to an invite that I have just personally with myself. You have the ability of using other people, even those reporting to you, as your accountability partners, and that can help move you forward. And to wrap this up, what I want you to do right now, as you finish this, set a time on your calendar, 20-30 minutes, to sit down and think about the first steps. Do this. allocate the time to start allocating your time better. Don't just forget about this and move on to the next thing, but try to choose where you're going to be thinking about this and making an improvement. I recommend starting from a calendar defrag. Go over your calendar, look at everything, and try, if you remember the old thing we had a lot, I don't know, Windows 98, where you would defrag your hard drive to put things that are similar together, etc. Try to do that with your calendar. It doesn't even mean that you need to change things up too much, but at least have, one-on-ones back to back, have your planning meetings back to back, whatever works better for you. Try to move things so that in the time of day where you can focus more, you have less meetings, whatever, that sort of stuff. So you use your time better. That's not even changing things up too much. Then we do the calendar reset. You start looking at things and say, this meeting could be an email. This meeting, no reason for it to be an hour, can be 30 minutes. No reason for it to be every week, can be every 3. Make those changes so you can actually take back some of your time. Once you do that, now's the time to sit down and think, how would an ideal week look like? How is my current week looking like? Let's see the difference between the two and start making progress towards that. That's it. I hope that at least I got you to open your phone and book those 20 minutes to start working on yourself. You deserve it. You just spent, 10, 15 minutes watching a video. You could use that time rather than move on to the next video on your queue to invest in yourself and get better. And if you need any help, my email's in the video description and I'll be happy to help you with that. So if you like this, please like and subscribe. It really helps. And I'll see you here in the next video. Ciao.